Good morning, Liberty Heights family. Hope you guys are doing well. I have some friends that are going to be joining us today. Some of you will recognize. There we go, Shawn and Whitney Koonce.
Hey guys.
Look at those mugs.
AC.
Here's
our latest. I don't think our latest edition has. We sound like the Duggars.
How many do you have now? 27?
We have at least 2. Yeah, but I don't think you guys have met her.
Yeah,
This is Zuri.
This is Zuri. She is 1 year old. 1 year old. And so this is her debut to everybody. Say hi to everybody. Hi guys.
Born in Kenya.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is our Kenyan baby. And
dual citizenship, right?
Well, who knows?
No, it doesn't work that way.
No.
On the Kenyan side, it's really hard to get. So it'll be, but you never know.
It's a great story.
Yeah. There you go. We survived. She survived. We all survived. So
that's fun. So you guys are back in the States. A lot of y'all don't. I mean, there's some people on here that may not know you guys at all from the time that you were at Liberty Heights. Shawn was actually on staff at Liberty Heights for how long?
About
3 years.
Yeah.
But I've actually known Shawn for longer than I'd like to admit.
Yeah. We have indicting pictures and things like that.
Yeah.
That date back.
Yeah. So if you didn't like Shawn at Liberty Heights, you can blame it on me, I guess. But Whitney redeems Shawn in all his ways, just like Heidi redeems me. So people are saying they can't see Zuri. We got to hold her up there in the middle. Let's go ahead and get her in that picture. There she is, eating her Cheerios.
Not gonna do it.
Listen, until her agent talks to Kyle.
Yeah. Too much camera time.
That's right. So
Shawn and Whitney served at Liberty Heights, and then Shawn actually, along with Whitney and Shiloh at that time, transitioned back to Kenya. Shawn had served there previously, but now they are back in the States. I'd love to give you guys a chance to give a brief, like where things are at, how you ended up here. I know Shiloh health stuff. Just start unpacking a little bit for us.
Sure. Well, we wish we were in the tea room with you, buddy.
Yes, I wish you were too. I'm lonely.
It's okay. We got you. Yeah. First of all, it's good to see everybody. Talk to you guys, and so we have the privilege of serving at Liberty Heights, and to be there and be a part of that awesome church, and love you guys. And actually, we kind of sent out really from y'all when we went back to Kenya with y'all's blessing, and so we went back about 4.5 years, almost 5 years ago now, and we had our daughter Shiloh. She's in the other room. Maybe bringing her in a minute.
Yeah, that'd be great to see her.
Yeah, and so she was 2 years old at the time, or just turning 2, and we moved back to Kenya. We love it. We moved back with the purpose of connecting local organizations and churches and individuals towards giving back to the community and extending the gospel in very practical ways. Again, we feel very strongly that what we do at Timber Society is we connect generosity with opportunities, but if the end goal is not the gospel, we're missing out. but we hadn't seen that within Kenya as far as meeting needs. And so we went back there to East African Solutions for East African Problems with that mantra, and to see how we can connect people together to solve those problems. And so we went back. We're there. It's fantastic. Learned a lot. It was really good to be back in Kenya. But about a year ago, we started noticing some challenges with Shiloh's health. And so began to look at it. And she had seizures when she was a baby. And so we came back to the U.S. to get looked at. And as a result of that, and just even some organizational challenges, not even just challenges, changes really, God made it super clear that it was our time to leave, which was weird because we really thought we were going to be there a long time.
Yeah, and everything seemed to be going so good, and life was so good. So that was a bit of a surprise for us.
Yeah, no, one of the things I think you said to me when we initially talked when you came back was it's an opportunity for the people you had been ministering with to begin to minister and take charge and own it themselves. You know, you guys saw that opportunity, and that God was kind of leading in that direction. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more? How you felt like maybe God used you to equip them to start owning things and carrying the mission? Sure.
One of the great things, as you said earlier, I lived in Kenya back in 2000 to 2002. 2002 to 2004. Yeah, Mom. And so I lived there and I was working in youth ministry and in sports. And in that time period, I had worked with a lot of really sharp young guys and ladies. And I got 2.5 years in and realized, wait, man, there's really not a job that these guys who are here are not ready to do. And work myself out of a job. Yeah. And then fast forward 15 years, and I've seen them thrive and just crush it. So our goal back was to learn and to work alongside guys and ladies who were there. And we had a team, phenomenal, one of the best teams I've ever worked with, who are just doing great and amazing work. And we're ready to take on and to run with it. And again, keeping it contextual. And because we didn't import a program, we built it from the ground up there with in mind. We've just done amazing work. And through Simply Do Good, which is our initiative of giving back, one of the biggest things that we wanted to do was say, okay, no matter who you are, no matter where you're at or what you have, you can do something. Yeah. We had a little over 2,100 volunteers in different capacities that we had talked to and with. Yeah, no. Yeah. And so empowering them, okay, here's how you can give back. Here's what you can do. Yeah. And so they're doing it right now, which has been amazing. Yeah. And okay, we're about to get blessed right here real quick. All right. Yes, hello. You want to say hi? Hi. You tell me about happy birthday? Because today is your birthday.
Thank you, Miss Shiloh.
Yeah, we were a little offended that we weren't asked to be on that all sing thing.
Hey, you can't say that because I asked shit. I asked Whitney. Oh my gosh. Too often. I asked Whitney to sing this. Sorry, Liberty Heights family.
Let's get back on track.
Why don't you guys keep talking?
Yeah, you asked Whitney. You didn't.
Yes, I asked Whitney to sing.
I know, but
I could have auto-tuned you.
I was a little confused on what. Sorry. Anyway, all right, back to.
Okay.
This is Shiloh. Shiloh's are almost 7 years old next Monday, right?
Yes.
My next birthday.
All right.
You want to tell the people at Liberty Heights anything?
Want to say anything?
No.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, you can say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Or you can say hello. You can stay. Yeah. So, anyways, when we left Kenya, one of the best things was there are people in place with ideas, and we're able to take it and are moving forward. Right now, the response, they're still helping to coordinate a lot of the response in Kenya because some of the corporates first time are saying, I got a call on Monday. Hey, we don't know where to give or how to give, and our team is on it. Yeah. And there's potential of helping 1,500 farmers. But again, the goal is how do we infuse the gospel in this? Yeah. And so how do we involve churches to be able to do this? So they're doing it, and that is the goal and the heart that we've had from the beginning. I don't know, what do you think about that?
Sorry, I was trying to listen.
She wasn't listening.
She was trying to get cookies.
Welcome to my life.
I'm sorry.
No, just
while Shawn's catching Whitney up real quick, hey, if you guys have any questions specifically for them, feel free to share them because there is a little bit of a delay in this feed. So if you want to start asking some stuff or you're curious specifically about ways to catch up with his family and stay connected with them, feel free to ask those questions in this feed. All right, you caught up, Whitney?
Sorry about that. I was trying to parent and all the things. Yes, you can have a chocolate chip cookie. Okay.
She was working.
No, I think that would be our ultimate like goal and dream, I think, would be to see the people who, we originally came to work alongside take ownership, believe in it, and take it further than we ever could. Because at the end of the day, we're not Kenyan, they are.
Yeah.
They understand the needs around them. I mean, we could spend 30 years there, we would still be learning every single day. And so I think, it's always painful to say goodbye, especially when it's a situation that you love. But Shawn and I have said a lot, as much as we don't love the circumstances that took us out of Kenya. I don't know if we ever would have left if God had not slammed the door shut. And so it kind of had to be that way. And so, I think we're thankful and we believe in our team there, and we're excited to see how God uses them in the body of Christ in Kenya to make a huge impact. So it was a blessing and an honor to just be a small part of that.
Just a shout out, because these are 3 women who are crushing it. Barbara, Kirsty, and Beth. And just you watch that in a society that wasn't always valuing of women in their place, and you're seeing them just in this capacity.
That's awesome. Yeah, Heidi and I have both been out there with you guys. Heidi loves it. I love you guys being there and Heidi being there, and I loved it once I was there for a minute. It took me almost to the end to calm down. But I will tell you, when I was out there, I was blown away. That was home for you guys, and Heidi and I, when we were out there last, really thought there's no way, they're never going to be here again. And so for you guys to be back, we know that, it had to be God moving you back, and there had to be circumstances beyond your control, to bring you back to the spot. Do you want to talk a little bit kind of about what brought you back here outside of it being clear that God was facilitating that path for you?
Yeah. Shawn mentioned a little bit about Shiloh, and, if you've been at Liberty Heights when we were there, you guys would maybe remember when Shiloh was a baby, she started having seizures, and we went through it's chaos. We went through about a year or a year and a half of testing and lots of back and forth at Cincinnati Children's.
Yes.
Never really got definitive answers, but she thought she had maybe outgrown them. We thought maybe God had taken that away from her. And our doctors had given us the green light to go ahead and, move forward. And that's why we moved to Kenya when we did. And then it was about almost exactly a year ago, Shiloh had started kindergarten, and the short version is she started having seizures again that presented differently than they had as a baby. But we came back over the summer and did just a whole slew of testings, and God definitely opened doors for us to be able to do all of that, which taken 9 months of testing and whatnot. I think we did in 3. But the short version is we just found out that she has some needs that we weren't aware of until about a year ago. That as wonderful as Kenya is when it comes to healthcare and neurology specifically, didn't feel confident that if her situation were to change, which at any minute it could. Right now she's doing wonderful, but if things change, we just didn't feel like we were in a place where she would have her needs met. And so that was the biggest reason. And then simultaneously, just had some funding changes within our organization. One of the big corporations that had been funding us sold to someone else. And so their CSR, which they were giving to us, was shifting. And so we, again, took that as God just making it even more obvious that, this was out of our control, and we needed to just go with it.
Yeah. So. It's amazing how he does that. Sometimes when we plant so hard somewhere, and sometimes it takes him just pouring it all down and removing it all and taking it all away. On the other side of all of that, I know it's not that distant in the past. What have you taken away from this experience at this point? And what are you doing now?
I will say, for me at least, the constant theme of the last year has just been control. I think I wouldn't think I was a control freak, but I think it's made me realize how much I need to have this illusion, because truthfully, look, coronavirus, all we have no control.
We're all walking through that to some extent right now.
Yeah. So I think, I loved watching all of LHC's This Is My Story, things that you guys did. That was amazing. And people that I've known for a while, I just heard things I've never even knew about them. And but actually one of the things Heidi said was, it's not until you go through the dark, hard places that you really have to decide, is it true? Do I really believe
Right.
this thing that I've said my, however many years? And I think for me, the thing I've taken out of it is that, yes, it is true. God is good. He does love us. Even whenever the gifts he gives us don't feel like good gifts, Sorry, real life.
Yes. That's what's happening in everyone else's homes right now too. So you're okay. You're okay.
I'm going to take this one for a stroll. Shawn.
Go ahead. You're good. Mama power.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now, man, that's another level. And I think that even us guys who aren't home a lot, just the appreciation of our wives right now.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do this?
Yeah.
And even if we're present, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Man, I think the whole piece, there's a lot of takeaways. I think what Whit said about the control is there. But I think if you're a guy, once you get married, you realize control. And so that's a good question. I think the connectedness, what we learned there was, I think, the idea of how people are, the interconnectedness. Like, I love networks and building culture and communities and interweaving them. But then just seeing how they play out, but not just that connectedness, but the connectedness of a health crisis. I mean, you talked a lot about health crisis, a financial. So we've had health crisis, financial crisis, and learning to pivot in the midst of that, not to come inward and say, okay, self-care is a real catchy term, but we're not careful, it becomes very selfish. But you pivot and say, okay, what's going on here, and trying to step back to see the big situation. Like, yes, this one event right now is affecting us, but is there a bigger picture that we need to be taking into that we can't maybe see yet? Because I think if we're not careful, we react in that moment. Like, I love to fix things. Boom, done. Let's go, move. But if I fix it right then, as opposed to, okay, God, what are you trying to do in this situation in our lives? Then I may fix something. It's like someone trying to fix their business right now during coronavirus. Our world in 2 months is not going to look the same. So you have to know what you're looking at. So I think the interconnectedness of this event that happens here to down the road, a friend of ours said this. They said, maybe God had all this happen back in July of last year because he needed you to be away from Kenya right now with your babies. And which I don't know how I feel about that, but I think there's maybe a plausibility to that. So
one of the messages we had right before Palm Sunday and Easter was about the blessing in adversity. And sometimes when you're in the middle of it, you want to fight against it. You want to try to fix what is pushing against you. But at the end of the day, when you look back, you see that adversity produced blessing in your life. And I've got lots of those stories in my own life. And, it sounds like what you're saying is very similar, that, this is one of those moments where you're just trying to wait. Don't fix everything. Don't know all the answers. Don't have a clue what maybe tomorrow is, but trusting that God has a plan in it all.
Well, it's like that annoying post that keeps going around. If you don't come out of this quarantine time with a new skill, new business idea, I'm like, this idiot does not have kids. But also, we just need to rest. Last year was hard for us. It was a hard season for me specifically.
At least you didn't cuss.
No, like someone else. But I think it was really hard. I've never really been like down, just really feeling. Last year was that for me. And really for about 4 or 5 months, and then mourning the loss of having to leave Kenya. And then figuring out, okay, I want to fix it. How do I fix, Shiloh? How do we fix this? And God said, no, you don't get to do any of that. So then me,
just rest.
And which is so, it's like almost, it's not a cuss, but it's a real hard concept. If you could do it, get after it. And so I think that was that coming out of it is learning to allow God to be God. And I was talking to a guy today, and we're just talking about, so I think this coronavirus is going to help us discover our humanity and God's divinity. And so often we're chasing.
We don't have control. Yeah, that's a good word.
And so for us, so now, we've been pivoting a lot, and pivoted back to the States. And then we are here at my sister's house and brother-in-law's house, pivoted here. And as I'm beginning to look for another job, because we'll be stepping away from Tin Roof Society after after 11 years, it's kind of a big deal for us. But we're stepping into something new, looking for that. Well, it's kind of hard to job search right now and to and, do all those things. And we're like, man, God. But again, he says, I knew about this beforehand.
Yeah.
And still be active in it, but don't be frustrated. Don't be hopeless in this craziness.
Yeah, that's so hard. That tension of like trying to work and have that motivation, but also not be filled with anxiety and stress and worrying because there's a plan. You just got to continue being faithful to the doors that are open. It's easier to say than what it is to actually play out in your life.
But and also even in this, I think, Colin, I think this is something like what you guys did with This Is My Story. I think is great. Part of it is stop navel gazing and looking at, I talked about self-care and the idea, take care of yourself. But really right now, who can you help? We look, do, as Stanley says, do for one what you wish you could do for many. Yeah. What are we doing right now to take care of each other in the body of Christ?
100%.
The body of Christ is about to change radically.
Yeah.
And it is changing. So what can we do right now? And I think that for us is, yes, we have a ton going on, but in the midst of that, am I still willing to pick my head up and say, well, who needs help?
Yeah. Well, the amazing thing is as you do that, that selfish attention to yourself that turns into anxiety and fear and worry starts to disappear.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine that concept, that biblical concept of stop focusing so much on your own selfish needs and your pride and, get out there and help people. And it's amazing what God can do through that as you do it in his name.
And what I wonder is on the other side of this, and there will be another side of this, so I don't know how it looks, but on the other side of this, when we emerge, are we just going to go back to building our lives, or are we going to now look, because the rest of the world is going to need our help. I mean, right now we can't respond to Africa. We can't respond to South and Central America where developing world nations are. But what are we going to do? Or those people in our neighborhood who are still hurting, are we just going to breathe a breath of fresh air? Hey, we made it out alive. Or we can look and say, let's make sure everybody gets out. And I think that's a big thing we have to look at.
How are things in Kenya now, as far as the pandemic and all that goes?
Yeah. So, it's a country of 47 million people. We haven't seen yet but it's still a developing world nation. It's not really third world, but we haven't seen what a developing world or third world nation looks like being hit by coronavirus yet. Mainly because we're reporting it otherwise. Yeah. So I had a chat this morning with a friend and been talking to guys. What they're saying right now is this: they've shut down major urban areas as far as going in and out. There's curfews imposed from 7 o'clock at night on, or 6:30, 7 o'clock at night onward. Everybody, if you're out in public, you have to wear a mask. But your challenge is that we have a slum that has, has 500,000, 750.
Yeah, Heidi and I have talked about that. What in the world is going to happen in that location?
So many people, they live day by day, so you can't just self-isolate,
Right. Yeah.
To work or your kids don't eat. So
and even just protective equipment. How in the world did they have access to anything to prevent that?
Very complex. It's, to say wash your hands is pretty painful. Not running water and you can't afford soap. Yeah. So
yeah, so I think it's interesting. The government is responding somewhat, but it's private initiatives. And a lot of the NGOs pulled out their biggest people. NGOs meaning charities. They pulled them out. So who's on the ground? But that may not be terrible. It may actually be a very good situation for the church, local organization, grassroots say, we're going to respond to this. And they are. You're seeing do this, or setting up hand washing stations and making masks out of everything.
There's good things happening. It's just not on the news.
But you're not seeing widespread sickness yet, and we hope it doesn't. But if it does, it'll get really bad from the standpoint of ICU beds, ICU ventilators. And what we pray is a lot of the older people live up country, meaning out in the rural areas. So and that's what they're trying to do is isolate it in the urban areas so that those older people up country aren't affected in those small hospitals. Yeah. But it's hurting the economy and there's no safety net. Yeah. So, we're encouraging people, if you have people you support that are working in these developing world nations, support them more. Yeah. Figure a way. Because they're going to need it more than ever. And even if it's a missionary or an organization, they're going to be dispersing, funds. And literally this keep people alive. Yeah. Yeah.
How can our people specifically pray for, support you guys through this season right now?
I think for our family, I think on a personal level, to just pray that we would continue to lean into the Lord and just wait on His timing. There's a lot of question marks in our life right now, which I'm the kind of person, I'm a planner, and so I don't like the in between time of the not knowing. But I've done this with the Lord long enough to know that it's all going to be fine. Just that we would listen, and we would just continue to trust Him. And as far as our kids go, just keep praying for our girls. And it's interesting how this health situation, I think that it's pulling Shiloh closer to Jesus. She hasn't given her life to Him yet, so there's been a lot of really interesting conversations about just the gospel. And so I'm praying that God will use this thing to make her come to know Him and her need for Him to be her rescuer. And so pray for that. And then for our ministry, I'll let Shawn answer that one.
Yeah, we think it's keeping Shiloh away from the gang life, so we're happy.
Thug for life.
She started
working hard with you as a dad.
It is, thug life don't stop. No, I think with our ministry, and Whitney said something well, we have found that God is faithful regardless. He is faithful. Just doesn't look like what we thought. Praying for those who are on the ground who are still really making things happen. We're putting things up on Facebook to kind of help people know, hey, here's what's going on, and here's who to invest in. We're pushing it towards the Kenyan audience. So praying just the funding for that, because here's the thing, nonprofits are being hit like crazy. And so if you don't have money coming in, just like a church, it's a bit hard, and you're dependent on other people getting their incomes. And I think just that they're able to continue to move forward, but also just to not grow weary and all, and to continue to have the heart for people, but also not to get overwhelmed by the need, which I think we all can get into. And I think, like Whit said, our family, what is that next step? Where are we leaning towards? And talking, like I said, we're looking, God, where do you want us to work? Where do you want us to be? And all that's changed, and it may continue to change. But also that our hearts are just aligned with God. We don't reject anything that He brings our way, and just praying for continued health, and that and God's so faithful to us, man. He's so good. Like he just continues to show up, and we're really grateful for that.
And you said Shiloh is doing well right now at this moment. She's not having any symptoms, or stable.
She's so symptomatic. I mean, it's about the same as it was.
But it's controlled.
It's controlled, and she's crushing it, doing good in school. And Whitney's been homeschooling, doing amazing.
Patience.
You know what? One of those things I didn't know was going to be so good for me. So
it's good. No, Heidi did it for a while with Roman, and then he went to public school when we moved to a smaller town. But now, obviously, everyone is homeschooling. And it's not.
It's for you, but I've learned to not say no to anything. So
It's crazy. It's crazy. How's Shiloh adjusting to being in the States?
It's been hard. We have tears almost every day, but I think that's normal for any kid. Kenya's, we moved there a month after she turned 2, so that's her world. So she misses her friends, and we had to sell all of our stuff pretty much. So it's hard when you're a kid.
That's hard as an adult.
But she's doing okay. I think every day is getting better and better.
One of the things you talked about earlier, which I was going to close this up, but I do want to touch on this for just a minute. You talked about community and organizations and people getting behind stuff, and the difference between Kenyan community versus community here. One of the things that Heidi and I experienced over in Kenya that was super unique was that, they really do live life on life. Like there is a lot of, really authentic relationship and communication. I think you said towards the end of your time there, you were really feeling like you had connected more to some groups of people. Like, what is that like culturally, the difference between here and Kenya, for those that haven't experienced it?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is that whenever you need people, you lean into them more. In America, we've become very isolated because we're self-sufficient, and we love our self-sufficiency. But the problem is this: we're really not self-sufficient. We crave community, therefore why social media goes up. Kenya, it's still in a place where we do need, people need each other. They need each other to help, and there is an ingrained culture for that. And but we're starting to see the separation. We're starting to see the cocooning and people not knowing neighbors anymore and all the rest. What we did like was the genuine concern that people had for each other. It doesn't take much to have concern.
Yeah.
The problem is this, is that we get going so fast, we realize if we pivot to see, to see the guy on the side of the road like the Good Samaritan did, it's going to slow us down.
Yeah.
So it's messy, and we don't want to do that. And so I think, while Kenya has its own stuff, and we do in the U.S., I think the idea of community, of literally saying, just stop. Yeah. And this time right now is making some of us who are hard chargers, and we get our value out of succeeding and checking things off, to stop and actually have community. Go out in your neighborhood, pull up a lawn chair, and just talk to people.
That's what we're excited about coming out of the season. Just the opportunity, like we've had a chance. Some people have had a chance to slow down and have more margin in their life, and to hopefully see the value of that. That as a church, we would become known as people that really do care and can slow down to care enough, not just throw money at something, but actually stop and take care of those needs and offer the hope of the gospel, because we slowed down enough to actually share the gospel. Right. It's not just money, it's not just doing an ad, but actually slowing down enough to value the relationship with the person, and develop that authenticity to where you can fully share the gospel, not a track in their face, not a 30-second spiel, but honestly let people know they are loved.
Yeah. And people, we're disbanded from church, and who knows, maybe another month, who knows how long it's going to be. But they're not going to come back into the church for the show, and they're not going to come back to the church for the lights, and they're not going to come back to the church for the program. They're going to come back to the community. Yeah. And so what's happening right now, I think, is an incredible opportunity for us as the church, both locally and globally, to engage people and say, well, why do you have to? Well, this is just how we do things at LHC. We love each other. And so when we come back together, it's because we want to be there in that community. We can put that community somewhere else, and we want to be a part of that. I think that that's an exciting part for both the church here, the church in Kenya, and around. Yeah,
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you didn't realize that you had a hunger for it until it's completely gone. You know me, I'm totally fine with sitting by myself in a room. Like I'm fine with that. I like alone time.
The basement.
And that's a shocker to you. Here lately, it's been a lot of time in the basement, but one of the things that has shocked me to death is I authentically, like really for real life, miss my LHC family, which is crazy. Like that's not crazy. It's, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, me who recharges alone, because it may surprise you, I'm an introvert 100%. You see me on the stage, but I like that recharge time. But I miss my family, and that is, to me, that is testament to the Spirit of God in our lives, just hungry to be back together and be a part of that body physically in person. And I can't wait to see what happens on the other side of this.
I think it's going to be powerful, but also I think it's going to show us the global church that we've all endured something together. Never has this happened in my lifetime where we've all gone through something together. And so maybe we felt we didn't have anything in common. Now we all have something in common. Yeah. And maybe it's the starting place to share the gospel.
That's a good word. That's a good word. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to pop them up. Somebody just said, is it wrong that every time y'all say pivot, I snicker? You said another word. You said navel gazing. I like that word.
Sometimes
that's one of my favorite words.
Sometimes, right, Rob? Like,
I don't think I had heard that word.
Now that you're all flipped, you can navel gaze easy.
Since you've been gone. Yes.
He actually says that quite a bit.
I like
now
that.
I know.
Just
like
if you just everybody do it right now. Just do it. Because
here's the real question. Can you give us the definition of navel gazing?
Yes. Looking at yourself, looking at the most useless part of yourself and thinking it's fascinating.
It's beautiful.
Your navel does nothing.
Beautiful.
But yeah, so you're going to do it later. And when you do, you'll know what I mean.
Staring at your navel.
Yeah, just so enraptured by yourself.
It's beautiful.
I'm doing it.
Do you have anything you want to say to redeem the close of this?
Well, I would say that even though we haven't been like a physical part of LHC for the last 5 years, we love you guys. We still consider you guys dear friends and family. And I don't know. We miss y'all. We're praying for you. Thank you for continuing to be part of the life of our family.
Yep.
Yeah. We can't wait till we can see. Heidi and I definitely cannot wait. I know the rest of LHC Can't wait to actually see you guys in person someday. Hopefully we can make that happen. And,
Sure.
you know, once we're able to gather in the same place again. And regardless, if you could make sure that wherever your next step is either in Ohio or at a beach, those are the two options that you have. So that so that when we do come to visit you, you know, we get to enjoy not just your company, but warm weather.
We'll get
Or a
on.
short drive. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'll become a character at Disney, so that'll
Yeah, Heidi will be all over that. She might move in with you.
There you go. At least I'll get a haircut because, bro, it's not.
Yeah, we're all thinking that.
I live with her and I haven't had a haircut. I'm wearing a hat every day.
Sorry,
Bad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we love you guys.
Thanks,
thank you for taking the time. We'll catch up again soon. Liberty Heights family, thanks for checking in.
Happy
We'll
birthday.
talk to you later.